Who doesn't love a good B&M inverted roller coaster? The model was introduced back in the 90s by Swiss manufacturer B&M, and it's still prevalent today. The model consists of the train hanging under the track and maneuvering through various inversions, turns, and transitions. Because of these coasters hanging in compact nature, they're always pretty whippy and intense. Ohio is home to two of these inverts, Raptor and Banshee. Which of these two Ohio inverts is better? Here's a full battle of the inverts, Raptor versus Banshee. Let's run through both of the coaster layouts, starting with the older of the two, Raptor. Located directly on the Cedar Point main midway, roaring around the paths, stands this 137-foot tall and 57-mile-per-hour invert. Raptor gets mixed reviews as it's often seen as a pretty janky coaster by today's standards. The ride's transitions are very sharp. Most of the turns have whippy transitions, the corkscrews and cobra rolls are pretty whippy, and these whippy turns are thrilling but can also cause pain with the harder over-the-shoulder restraints. After dispatching, the 8-car train maneuvers a left-hand turn before ascending the loud lift hill. The ride drops while turning 90 degrees to the left, right over the main midway in a 45-degree drop. Riders level out from the whippy drop into the back row in smooth upwards transitions. This leads into one of my personal favorite elements, a strong but oddly shaped vertical loop, with back row riders left with a very strong stomach twisting over the apex. The loop is very forceful, which then leads into my favorite element, an extremely whippy and floaty 0G roll. Arguably the roughest element follows, which is a tight cobra roll. These entrances and exits of the cobra roll are unpredictable, even for experienced riders. You're almost guaranteed to hit your head a few times, and that's where the most Raptor haters come from. The ride's intensity is arguably too much, and it hurts in the transitions. However, the cobra roll valleys and transitions are intense. Raptor then gives the guests a breather by letting them sit through a helix over the midway, leading into an unfortunate mid-course brake run. The mid-course usually has a trim unless you ride Raptor later in the day. After the mid-course, Raptor drops back down into two corkscrews with a small break in between, giving riders a breather. Finally, Raptor finishes with an extremely tight double helix finale. Warning to all riders, you will lose your vision and you will lose feeling in your legs, but it's all part of the Raptor experience. With one very jerky and guaranteed headbang in the brake run, you conclude your maybe rough experience on Raptor, depending on where you sit. The back row on this ride is incredibly smooth, but most enthusiasts will ride up front, which is in my opinion the roughest seat on Raptor. However, the opposite is true for Banshee. Banshee, unlike Raptor, has no real jerky spots, but instead has a constant rattle, making the front row more comfortable than the back on this coaster. After boarding your train and pulling down your vest restraint, which immediately reduces headbanging but increases getting stapled, dispatch and climb up the steep lift hill. Instead of entering a pre-drop like on every other invert except for the most recent ones, dive straight down your right curved drop, with riders in the back being thrown into their restraints. This drop is much more aggressive than Raptor. After the crazy drop, Banshee glides into a smooth dive loop right beside the path, causing some good hang time in the back rows. After entering the tight valley, Banshee enters a vertical loop. Unlike Raptor again, however, Banshee's loop is slower, causing for fewer Gs but more hang time. There will be a trend for Banshee. It's also important to note that Banshee all around is a faster, taller, and longer coaster than Raptor. Banshee reaches over 30 feet taller than Raptor and reaches a speed of 68 miles per hour. After the loop, Banshee enters the floatiest element on the ride, a tall 0G roll, which doesn't whip but provides great negatives. Banshee races into the most intense element on the ride, a massive pretzel knot. This element is similar to a batwing, but two exits cross over each other, creating a pretzel. The pretzel knot is huge and by far the most intense, but unfortunately the most rattly part of the coaster. Following the pretzel is another loop, this one being a lot faster paced and therefore causing better forces. Afterward, Banshee rises up in a very tight turn into an extremely slow barrel roll. This barrel roll for many is the highlight of the ride, providing the best hang time anywhere in the state. Finally, Banshee exits with one last helix that throws riders up into the brakes. Now that we've talked briefly through the layouts of these two inverts, we can get into our 6 categories that could help determine which is the better of the two rides. Our first category is the first element you experience on a coaster, a drop. Which drop is better? In my opinion, Raptor's drop is a little more comfortable than Banshee's. However, Banshee's drop is still quite a bit better than Raptor's here. Banshee goes straight into the drop and overall has a much larger, steeper, and whippier drop. However, those in the back row, if not careful, could get whiplash from Banshee's drop. Raptor gets a 6 out of 10 and Banshee gets an 8. The next category is pacing. I like using pacing instead of speed categories because some rides with smaller heights and speed are superior to their larger counterparts. Anyway, both of these coasters are good at pacing. However, with Raptor being very compact and Banshee being more spread out, Raptor will naturally have better pacing. Banshee between every element has larger drops or valleys which can hurt the pacing. While Raptor does have its score hurt from the slow turn into the mid-course brake run, Raptor overall has rapid-fire elements, especially the first half. Raptor receives an 8 out of 10 and Banshee gets a 6. Our next category is inversions. These B&M inverts are designed to invert riders multiple times. Banshee, in my opinion, has much more drawn-out inversions. These both help and harm the ride. Unlike Raptor, Banshee has more hang time, and especially on that last inversion. However, Raptor's inversions are extremely whippy and therefore help the ride give more lateral and negative forces. I enjoy some of Banshee's hang time and float, but Raptor's inversions are much more fun. Raptor gets a 9 out of 10 and Banshee will receive an 8 out of 10. The next category is transitions. Smoothness and whip make transitions great. In fact, most rides nowadays are focused around whippy transition, especially those by RMC and Intamin. However, Raptor and Banshee both have some good transitions. Banshee's transitions are very smooth and graceful, especially in all of the inversions. None of Banshee's are uncomfortable, but also not very whippy. Raptor is the exact opposite. All of Raptor's transitions are extremely whippy, especially those in the corkscrews and 0G rolls. However, some of them have unavoidable headbanging, most notably the ending transition and the Cobra roll. For this reason, Raptor will get a 6 out of 10 and Banshee will get a 7. Our penultimate category is smoothness. Being B&Ms, both of these inverts are pretty smooth. However, each of these rides has their rougher spots. Banshee, like all of the B&Ms at Kings Island, have a strong rattle, especially in the back half of the ride. Raptor, on the other hand, has no rattle but instead stronger moments of headbanging, specifically in the Cobra roll, ending turn, and corkscrews if not prepared. However, I'm giving Raptor the edge because if you know how to ride the coaster, all headbanging can be avoided. However, Banshee's rattle cannot be avoided and you are guaranteed a headache after a few rides. Raptor gets an 8 and Banshee gets a 7. The final category is the most prevalent category on rides like this, intensity. Both of these rides have their intense moments. Banshee's most intense moments are the bottom of the first drop and the bottom of the pretzel knot. However, Raptor definitely has the edge here again. Raptor's valleys are tight and the transitions are whippy. Being a more compact coaster, every element on Raptor is tighter and more intense. And that final helix is so intense that your limbs will go numb. Raptor gets a 9 out of 10 and Banshee gets a 7 out of 10. This means that out of 60 points, Raptor gets a 46 and Banshee gets a 43. A close mashup, but the older Raptor had the edge. So, do I agree with the outcome? I definitely agree. However, both of these rides are great and you might disagree if you like different coasters. If you're a new coaster rider that doesn't like super intense rides and doesn't want to ride defensively, then Banshee is for you. Banshee is great for the general public as it isn't as jarring or intense as Raptor and is also much faster and more graceful. But for the coaster enthusiasts, Raptor's super intense elements and crazy whips are an upgrade from Banshee. Raptor on Sundays is almost too intense. For the whole 0G roll in the back, it feels like your stomach leaves your body. However, Raptor is only good in the back rows. Banshee is good in any row, so it's really up to you for what you prefer. I prefer Raptor, but you may prefer Banshee, so go out there and ride them for yourself. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Comment whether you like Banshee or Raptor more and have a great rest of your day.